Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp with some embossed backgrounds featuring coloring with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. These embossing folders are all part of the brand new June 2021 Rainbows release, and oh my gosh, you guys, I absolutely love them. First of all, look at that detail. Is that not beautiful or what? You can do so many things with embossing folders, and today I thought it would be super fun to make the embossing folders the total focal point of my cards. So I am, embossing these on Bristol Smooth cardstock so that I can use the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. They are my favorite way to color on, or Bristol cardstock is my favorite cardstock for coloring with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, whether I'm doing traditional coloring, no line coloring, or anything like that. And so I am using kind of a combination of the markers and a water brush pen for a semi watercolored effect. The water brush pen is awesome for the bigger areas if I want to move the color around a little bit easier. You could see how easy it was for me to move the color around on those first leaves. I am going to let that color or the water dry for a bit, so I'm going to move on to another section of the panel. And then I can come back with my darker marker and kind of go back over some of the detail embossed lines in those leaves, the veining, and add that back in for a little bit more of a precise look. It really just kind of depends on what kind of look you're going for. Yes, the coloring for these does take a bit of time. I have very much sped up the video. I would probably venture to say that each panel took around 45 minutes to an hour. So this is not a super speedy video. I know I get asked a lot, like how long certain cards take me to make. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that normally. Most cards don't take near as long as what a lot of people think they might take. These, it's just the coloring. Anytime you're doing tons of coloring, it is going to take a little bit more time. This would be the same if I was coloring just a stamped background image. That's kind of how I look at this. If I took a background stamp and stamped it and colored in each and every little part and piece, that would also take a bit of time to complete. This is just a completely different look, and again, I want the embossing to be the focal point, so I did color in the backgrounds. I do want to mention my panels today all measure 4 by 5¼ inches, so slightly smaller than A2 sized, meaning we're going to have a nice white border all the way around. I did go ahead and trim my cardstock prior to running through my embossing folder. Speaking of the embossing folder, it's handy if there are any areas of your panel that maybe are a little hard to see. We are coloring on a white on white. It's often kind of like if you were stamped and embossed an outline image with white on white cardstock. It can be a little bit hard to see. So I love to keep my embossing folder next to me on my work surface for reference, because a lot of times I'll be like, oh, there is a leaf there. So I want to go ahead and add color. This first panel is the leaf, pardon me, it is not. Let me tell you exactly what they're called. Vine canopy. I'm so sorry. So lots and lots of vines. I did do the little circle like berry-ish images in violet. So for all of my friends here on YouTube who know I have been branching out and using lots of purple in my cards, when I was kind of a self-professed not purple lover, but I have been doing a lot of them lately. And you guys will be glad to know as well that in my gardening just regular home life, nothing to do with cards. I've got some planters and stuff in my front and my back. I've picked a ton of purple flowers this year. So I have lots of that beautiful color going on in my yard as well. So I added a bit of color to something that's overwhelmingly green. This is a vine canopy, so it's going to be lots of greenery. I did pull in a turquoise green with a green shadow for the kind of aqua-ish leaves. I really personally love, if I'm doing a bright green type of leafy background, pulling in the turquoise green and green shadow. I really think it works nicely. And then the pale violet and light violet for the berries is a really nice complement to the greens and aquas. I love this. This can be any kind of card. I am using brand new sentiment strips from the Rainbows release for my cards to showcase. So lots of engagement cards, wedding cards. That's kind of what I went with for all of these beautiful florals. But you guys, these could be any type of card. Take your favorite sentiment strips, take your favorite sentiment stamps, take your favorite sentiment dies. You could literally do anything here. One extra idea, I did not do this because I really wanted to feature the entire panel, but something to keep in mind that I think would be fun is you could always die cut these backgrounds into a shape, let's say a heart shape, a circle shape, something like that, to place on your card to do more of like a highlight type of area if you wanted to, and maybe not color quite as much surface area. There is so many things you can do with these embossing folders. I really love them. I do want to tell you as well, you're going to see a lot of the coloring. At least, I know the first two cards, I think I've left all of the coloring in. I think maybe even the third card I'm sharing today. The final card, which is the rainbow leaves going all the way around, it's the leaf bundle embossing folder, and I ended up doing each kind of different leafy branch in a rainbow color. I did cut out quite a bit of that video and ended up just kind of coloring part of it on camera. I didn't even cut it out. I didn't even turn on the video camera. It is a lot of the same colors. I will be listing all of the colors I used on my blog post. You can get the link to that underneath the video here on YouTube in the description box. If you want to go check that out, if you want reference for any of the colors that you're seeing used here today. Another note regarding colors, I'm using tons of markers today. You definitely don't have to. I simply, with the nature of coloring 4 panels in one video, I did try to pull in a couple of different colors. I tried to make all of them just a little bit different, not all the same color family or whatever. And I just used a lot of colors today. So you definitely don't need this many colors. You can color them all similar, or whatever you want to do there. If you don't have zigs, you can try your favorite water brush or watercolors for similar results. You could even color them with your alcohol ink markers, like Copic markers. So definitely try that out. It is really fun. I had this idea in my head as soon as I saw these, and I knew I wanted to try something like this. I did something similar on another video, which I will link to at the end of this one, where I feature quite a few of the Simon Says Stamp embossing folders. So definitely check that out for some other ideas for using your embossing folders, like adding ink to the embossing folder before you run it through with the paper and things like that. We are getting almost to the end of this panel. I will be coloring all of my panels, and then we will start assembling them. The assembly part, you guys, there's not a ton to it. I simply cut sentiment strips and added a few little heart droplets, and that was it, because I feel like the coloring on the background, or yeah, the backgrounds here is definitely the feature of these cards. Oh, this leaf canopy, or vine canopy, pardon me, I cannot get that right, is so, so pretty. We'll just color in these final few. Smaller areas, I sometimes wouldn't even use the water brush pen. I used it a lot on this card, but for, like I said, the berries and things, I don't think I even bothered to use it. So pretty. Oh, I know you guys are going to love this one. The Wildflower Field. First of all, how beautiful is this embossing folder? Even the white on white of this embossing folder is stunning. This was definitely the most time consuming of all of the backgrounds. You can definitely see why, but I also think it was very much worth it because the end result is stunning. If you enjoy coloring, I highly recommend giving this technique a try. It is very, very fun. I'm adding my color to the petals for my big flower. I did start at this big flower, and then I'll just kind of work my way down towards the bottom of the panel, which again, I kept my embossing folder next to me because I could tell that this was going to be quite a lot of work, just to kind of decipher all of the little bits and pieces. Following the stems down definitely helps quite a bit with kind of discerning which stem kind of goes with which flower, and just kind of working your way from one section to another. I ended up mostly kind of completing the right side of the panel and then finishing the left side, and then trying to do a lot of the flowers that are in the forefront, or these wildflowers that are in the forefront, and then the fern kind of looking leaves that are more in the background I kind of filled in later, because you don't have to be perfect there. No one is really going to know, because it is a jumbled up image kind of down near the bottom, and just takes a little bit of time. And like I said, this definitely took more time, but there is a gorgeous wildflower image from Simon Says Stamp from a couple of releases ago that I have also colored. I believe I did a no-line coloring with that, and it was time consuming too. So anytime you're going to color in a detailed image, it does take a little bit of time. It's a little bit more work with this just because there's no good outline to follow, but following the raised image works great. And just look how beautiful that purple wildflower is. I did go back in, I'm using purple and deep pink for the petals here, and then I would go back in once I had added the water and blended out the petals and they've dried. I'll go back in with purple and add just a little bit more detail into those. The center of my flowers is brown and light brown, which I know sounds funny, but I absolutely loved how it looked with the flowers. And then I did try to be consistent. So any of the flowers that are similar or the same. So these big flowers here in the design, the three largest wildflowers, I colored them the same color. And then there would be little sprigs with little purple blooms on them. I did those all the same. Some little yellow wildflowers, and then some kind of pale rose colored flowers as well. And then my greenery is all mid-green, olive green, and then the ferns have some pale dawn gray and olive green. for those. And consistency helps make the cohesive design here, as well as simplifying what you're going to color everything. I ended up loving this. I think this panel would be so pretty, maybe not adding any text to it whatsoever and framing it. Honestly, any of these would be a pretty little print to maybe just have some happiness in your office or studio, on a desk, or even a nightstand or something. I just think they're really pretty. I started with yellow and pale yellow for these blooms, and it was just a little too bright for me, so I pulled in a little mustard. I think that goes better with the rest of the colors I'm using on this panel. So the little yellow flowers, even though they're small, I actually used 3 colors there. So mustard, yellow, and pale yellow. And then this is that fern that's kind of back behind everything. I'm going to do part of it and then we'll fill in more later. You can see though, I did very, very quick coloring here and very imperfect, no water, just to kind of fill that in and help highlight the flowers that are in front of it. Definitely a lot of coloring. So I want to know in the comment section, please leave me a note. Let me know what your favorite products from the Rainbows release are. There is so much good stuff. If there's anything you guys are really, really wanting to see used, please let me know. Drop me a note. I know the stencils, the slimline stencils that are in the release, those I am doing a video for hopefully next week, or sometime within the next couple of weeks. Look for that because I love those stencils. I think they're really fun. I know I'm going to be doing a wedding card as well, for sure. But if there's anything specific, I will kind of take a tally from all of you guys' comments, and the most requested I will do a video for. I'm even thinking about maybe trying to do a YouTube live video at some point. If you guys have any interest in that, please let me know about that as well. That might be a good opportunity to try one with what the most requested product is, or products, if I can combine them in any way from this Rainbows release. I think it would be kind of fun to maybe do something like that. So at this point, there's sections of the panel that look super good, and then some of these stems I really hated. But once we add the color in, I was intimidated by the bottom of this panel. I will tell you right off. In fact, I ran it through the panel through my die cutting machine with the embossing sandwich, and I thought, oh, that didn't emboss very well. I don't know if I can see all the areas. And so I actually ran another one through and it embossed exactly the same. And I was like, oh no, it embossed beautifully. There is just a lot going on down here. So slow and steady, I promise. Once you start filling in all the little things though, it really becomes clear. Then just adding in my little fern, stems, more fern. And there were some little pink blooms that not so much here on the right side, but on the left, there was one I didn't even see until I got to coloring. So much to look at here. This is some pale rose and pale pink markers with a little mustard in the center. Again, very conscious of color choice. This card panel is not, it's still bright, but it's not like rainbow bright, I guess I wouldn't call it. So we definitely had our green panel, Now we have more of our wildflower colorful panel. We're going to do bright flowers next, and then we're going to go full on bright with our rainbow leaves with our final card. And then I got a little bit smarter. You'll notice I am coloring upside down right now. This is on purpose, trying to keep my hand off of this panel. Zig markers, water-based markers, and especially the zigs I have found stay wet for a little bit. And if they are not dry, you can drag your hand through them and smear the ink. So a lot of times I will flip the panel around just to kind of simply keep my hand off of the cardstock and not smear that ink. I've learned this over time. I have ruined many a project. This is not one that I want to ruin at all. Plus, sometimes just flipping your panel around gives you a different perspective and allows you to see some things that you may not normally. Like there's a little yellow flower here that I'm going to color in a minute that I didn't really see either. This little flower right here. By flipping it upside down, I could see that embossed area so much better. Some more little purple or violet flowers rather. Another stem. I even drew this stem partially through that last pink flower that I told you guys. I didn't notice until I kind of got right in the thick of it down here. We'll just kind of color right over that. Fill in some more little fern area. This pale dawn gray is perfect because it's just it's called pale dawn gray, and I don't know why, because I think it's more of a sage-ish kind of color, a muted sage maybe. And then just some little dots here and there, and my panel is all finished. Next up, we have the Roseville bouquet, and this is another beautiful embossing folder. I know I have been a broken record with that, but they are all so, so pretty. Look at that embossing. So this is a floral image, but this one is a little less intimidating, I would say, since the areas are a bit bigger and the coloring goes quite a bit quicker here. So it's a lot like the first panel. I would say the wildflower embossing folder, the wildflower field, is going to be the most time consuming, and the rest of them are more similar as far as how much coloring there is. We're going to go back to the same color combinations that we used for the first panel. So my darkest green leaves were green and light green. Then these medium leaves here are light green and yellow green. I love the yellow green. It kind of gives that limey feel to it. And then we're going to even pull in a bit of turquoise green and green shadow because I love pulling that kind of aqua-ish color into a card. And then our flowers are all going to be bright. So where we did a little bit more of a muted colorful card for the wildflowers, these are going to be super bright. So peach pink and sugared almond pink for our largest pink, or I keep saying largest pink, the largest flower. And then the other two are going to be kind of a bright yellow and the violet. And then just a kind of a scattering of the little tiny flowers that are intermixed in there are going to be any of the colors from these three main flowers. I kind of started with my greenery first to highlight the flowers. It's going to help kind of show all of the petals around each flower design. And then we will start with the largest flower first. I'm going to just lay down some dark color here and then pull that dark color out with my sugared almond pink. and blend out with a water brush pen. And it's really starting to take shape. How pretty is that? And we're just gonna pull that color even further out with our water brush pen to add color to all of our petals. I'm gonna save the center of my flowers for just a minute and allow the water to dry on the rest of the image so that I don't have any bleeding. This is bright yellow and yellow for the second flower. And then light violet and violet. I will say right there in between the yellow and the violet flower, when I get finished coloring my panel, I noticed a pretty big white space. This is where looking at your embossing folder will come in handy. I noticed that I missed an entire leaf. I could tell there was some embossing there, but it was really hard to see and kind of until I got the rest of the image colored. So just double check as you finish to kind of make sure you're not missing anything. It's very easy to do. Love how this looks. It's so pretty. A little bright yellow and yellow for a couple of flower centers, and then we'll probably just do green for the final one. We've got some extra little sprigs of greenery up here kind of at the top. We have all the little flowers. There's another little trailing vine down kind of near the bottom. Just kind of do a mix of all of our greenery colors all the way around. And again, as each area dries, I'm going to go back on the leaves and draw the veining back in to give a little bit more of the detailing to these images. The little flowers are really cute and fun too. I think they add a lot to the design. I think this is another one that would be really pretty colored in a different colorway. So I went really bright and colorful, but maybe a little bit more muted, or maybe do like all red roses or yellow. I don't know. I think there's so many different fun things you could do with this. And each little area, as you get it colored and add that detail back in, just makes the whole thing come to life. I wish I could show you and let you feel, or let you, I mean, I'm showing you, but let you feel the texture of these cards in person. I just love an embossed image. I'm really loving that. Embossing folders are kind of coming back. We're seeing them from a lot of our favorite companies. And they're, gosh, they're just so good. Do a little turquoise over here as well. Give a nice little visual triangle with that. Make sure and finish off these last little flowers. Couple little lavender ones, another little pink one. Little dot in the center of those little flowers. Just using the very tippy top of my marker. And then I'm looking at my embossing folder and I'm like, yep, I missed that leaf. So there's where I went in and filled that in. I will show you, these are the sentiment strips I'm going to use. I did put some foam adhesive on the back of those off camera. I really love using kind of a bigger font and then a smaller one together. So you're going to see that on a lot of these cards. Finally, we have our rainbow leaf bundle. I did a lot of these off camera. Again, many of the same color combinations you've seen before. I will have those all listed on my blog. Carmine red and light carmine is what I'm using right now for red. Then we're going to just kind of go counterclockwise. The orange is bright yellow and yellow. I know that that doesn't sound like it's orange, but I think it gives an orangey vibe. For yellow, we're using yellow and pale yellow. Our light green is light green and yellow green. Dark green is green and light green. Mint is turquoise green and green shadow. Blue is cobalt blue and light blue. Then we will add a little pink branch, just a tiny one, and even a teeny tiny little bit of purple in the center. This one, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I almost didn't use it, and I have to tell you guys, I'm so glad I did. This was really fun to do. I loved doing the non-traditional colors for the leaves. I think it's super fun to look at, very different. This is peach pink and sugared almond pink. It looks like I missed one of the little blue leaves, so we're going to go back and do that. I just tried to follow each stem. And then in the center, again, it's going to be violet, so we'll use a little light violet and pale violet for that little trio there, right there in the center. This is pretty too. I think this would be a pretty little panel to frame in a picture frame and put in an office. So here is real time. I've slowed it down just to kind of show you the finishing, but then let's move all these markers out of the way, and I am going to show you how I finished my cards. Off camera, I did trim the new sentiment strips reverse wedding. So these are the white text on black. Just an FYI, I did not do anything like this today, but I've done a video in the past. These are printed with toner ink, meaning if you want to run them through your Mink foiling machine and foil these sentiments in a different color, you totally can, which will make them just that nice foiled design, which is always a good look. I kept them very classic and black, just really simple today. And we are going to do a couple of lines of text for this card. The only card I only did one sentiment strip was the Wildflower one, and that was just kind of the nature of the card and also the sentiment I picked for it. The rest of them, I liked the 2 lines of text. I did, like I said, try to pick one larger font and one smaller one to go together. And these are so cute. I'm kind of excited. My hairdresser actually just got engaged this last weekend. I'm so excited for her, and so I will likely be giving one of these cards to her when I see her in a couple of weeks. And then these are just some little Trinity stamps, heart embellishments. I absolutely love these. I used the hint of mint on one of the cards, but then I used the clear ones on the rest, which I believe the color is called Boiled Sugar. And I'm using an embellishment wand to pick them up and put them in place. I really love the little teeny tiny ones and the medium sized. I don't use the large ones a lot. And I added just a different mix of those to each. I think maybe 3 to 5 per card, not a ton. I love the addition of some fun little heart accents on these cards and the little droplets. And then here is a look at all 4 finished cards. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 4 embossed background cards colored with Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring some ideas for using Simon Says stamp embossing folders that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.